evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our second episode of Through the Curtain. We are joined tonight by our second guest for this podcast series, Ethan Cross. Ethan, thanks for coming out. Thanks for joining us tonight. We appreciate you coming out to the studio. We like to make these interviews all about you guys. So we're going to ask you questions, but it's really about whatever you want people to know. So we're going to give you a chance to talk about yourself, your career, your gimmick, whatever it is you want people to know. This is your opportunity to have that discussion. So Chris and I will take some turns and got a few things that we want to plug away at. But if there's anything else you want to talk about, you let us know, okay?
All righty.
All right. So give us about a 5-minute rundown of your career so far in the wrestling business.
Okay, first, before I do that, I'd like to thank you for having me on this show.
Sure.
To give me an opportunity to have a platform. And it's also to give you guys a platform, too, so everybody all over the world can listen as well. The rundown of my life, it's, pretty difficult, but I made it through, because it was like one point in my life where I was hard-headed and stubborn as a young kid. So went through some hard times, even done 13 years in prison. Made it through, put a level head on my shoulder, and I decided, I wanted to do something when I get out, man. And I met Mickey James at Wawa one night, and I asked her for a question, and she thought I was going to get an interview, and I strictly told her, I'm sorry, I don't want to integrate. I'm not starstruck. I said, no point intended, no disrespect. I said, but I want to do the same thing that you do. So she jot information down. I looked it on websites, and that's how I got into the wrestling business.
Okay.
Wow.
So I just want to touch on that a little bit. So you spent 13 years in prison.
Yeah.
What was it that happened during that time that made you realize this is what you wanted to do?
Oh, man. I looked at two individuals, people who have life sentences and people who in and out. And I made a decision there. I made a decision that whether if I want to do the same thing they doing, have a life sentence, or wanted to come out and make a difference. So I chose to come out and make a difference. And I'll say around my 5th year out of the 13, I say, hey, this ain't for me anymore.
Okay.
Man, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So I mean, what do you think the big, like say you looked at a couple people and you got an idea of what you wanted to be, you wanted to make a difference. So other than just wanting to make a difference out of that entire scenario, what was the biggest life lesson you learned, and is there any way that you can apply that life lesson that you learned to your wrestling career now?
Yeah, I teach class sometimes. In wrestling class, so I always tell them, I'm like, man, if you have a goal, go for it. If you a type of kid that stay in trouble, get out of trouble. Don't follow people that think they're your friends, because at the end of the day, they're not your friends. They're going to laugh at you, stab you in the back, and then when you're in a situation, they're like, well, I told you, you shouldn't have got in trouble, but you hang out with the same type of individuals. Mm-hmm. So for my advice to them or anybody who's listening, like, follow your dreams, because that's what I did. Stay out of trouble. Listen.
Okay, so how old are you now?
I'm 45.
45 years old.
Yes, sir.
I can definitely tell you that watching you in the ring, I wouldn't guess that. I am not 45 years old, but I don't think I could do what you do and still be able to walk the next morning.
Yeah, that's a whole separate interview right
there.
Completely separate interview right there.
So being 45 years old, you're still in great shape, outstanding shape. I gave you credit in our first Talking Talent episode as being the individual on CPW's roster who has the best physique in the entire locker room. So, kudos to you for being able to keep that up.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem at all. So how much longer do you think you're going to be able to do this?
Oh, my goal. I have 2 goals, but to answer that particular question, until I'm 75.
Okay.
That is my goal. Wrestle until I'm 75. After I'm 75, if I'm able to still move in the ring, I'm still going to do it. If not, I'm going behind the scenes. That's
so why 75?
Oh, man. Been gone, incarcerated for 13 years.
Yeah.
I'm
Making
in
up
good
for time.
shape. Yeah. I'm still in good shape. I have no problems, and I always shock people because I smoke cigarettes. So, so they always ask me how I do it, and I always tell them it's not what you do, it's how you do it. So,
That's fair.
Hey, and I'll be completely honest. You and I have been in a ring together. It's been about 7 years now.
Yes.
6-7 years since we had done that. So when I talk about him at these matches, and when I talk about Ethan Cross on these reviews that we do, and I talk about the athleticism and the way he moves in the ring, I'm not just talking about what I see. I'm not just talking about what you do in the show we just watched. I've been a part of that. I've seen it. So, I mean, it's amazing that you're still doing it at 45, the way that you're doing it, at the level in which you're doing it. Just keep on. Just keep on going, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's impressive. I've only seen you a couple of times, but it was impressive to see you. When I learned your age from Double K, I realized that that made me even more admirable. Over the skills that you have and your ability to be able to still do it. We've seen this on multiple levels. Even if we talk about folks, you think about the Undertaker in the WWE. The guy's 53 years old. I mean, his matches haven't been stellar for the past couple of years, but they've still been matches. And he doesn't move around as well as you do.
Not at all.
And there might be something to it of the difference between, doing it for a decade and doing it for 35 years. Yeah. But, it takes its toll on you over time. But I think that there's a huge amount of credit that should be given to you for setting a goal to continue to be able to do this when you're 75 years old. I think Humphrey DuPont, the fourth, or 54th, whatever his name was. Yes. We've got our own beef with them, but if his ability to be able to talk and move around at 75 years old is a testament to what you'll be able to do, I look forward to still watching you 20 years from now to see what you're still capable of.
Awesome.
So we're talking about where you've been. We're talking about where we are right now. And throughout the years, whether it be you and I running into each other at a WWE show or wherever it may be, we always talk about what's going on with you. How you been, where you're going, and we've talked about different tryouts and things that you've had.
Yeah.
So take out wrestle to 75. Okay, we know that's goal number one.
Yeah.
Where are you going? What do you want to do with the career now? Because that's still 30 years.
Oh, yeah.
You got to find somehow to fill 30 years. So what's the goal for that 30 years? Where do you want to be? Do you want to hold some titles? Where do you want to hold them? What do you want to do?
Want to do more than just hold titles. My second goal is to break that age barrier for WWE. Guys are in there now, like, kudos to them. I never mad. Like, I go on social media all the time, and they mad when people are not getting used right. Me, I'm always happy because I'm like, hey, I haven't been there yet, but I'm like, one day it will happen, and I want to break that age barrier. People down there is from 18 to 34. Mm-hmm. You have people over the age of 34, but they've been there, like you say, Undertaker, a decade or more.
Right.
So only been like wrestling for 8 years. So my goal is to prove a point, to break that age barrier. And even if it ain't for me per se, it's to break the age barrier for someone else as well. Not just for me, but for someone else. And say, hey, is he 45 and he still move like he's 25? Maybe somebody else the same age can do the same thing.
Yeah, one of the things that I think is most challenging about the business is the perception of the business. And there's a general perception that once you cross really that 45 to 50 age time frame, no matter how great you've been, there's a decline. And we've seen evidence of that in some cases, but not in every case. Yeah. You yourself are a testament to being able to surpass that age barrier and still be able to perform at a high level. And we've talked about scaling things before, of scaling them down to the indie level. But there's still a huge amount of credit that has to be given to you guys for being able to go out there and do what you do. I mean, the match that I watched, you wrestled twice in one night at the CPW show 2 months ago. I've spent many hours over the past week just watching YouTube videos of some of your matches from other wrestling promotions outside of CPW, and also just looking through photos and what different people have had to say about your matches. And the one thing that's been consistent is people being surprised at your age.
Yeah.
That is a consistent fact across every platform that I viewed your material on, was people just surprised at your age. I was surprised when he told me the first episode we did. I was surprised. But, what I'm curious about is, we've talked about the challenge of the age barrier.
Yeah.
And we've talked about your challenges of trying to go from the point of incarceration to being a free man, and doing something that you're passionate about and that you want to do to make a difference. What do you think, outside of that is the most challenging aspect of the indie wrestling scene as it stands right now?
Oh, the most challenging, to prove a point, that I still got it, over the course of 8 years, but also to to make sure people see me for me, of what I can do in the ring, because there's a lot of people who are awesome, better than I am. Me, I always set goals. I'm always challenging myself. Period. I had a lot of teachers. Even from day one, I had a lot of teachers. And one thing about the teachers always say, it was I'm going to say this. It might pertain to you. It might not pertain to you. So take what pertains to you and use it. If not, leave it alone. I pertain it all because I want to be the best what I can do in that ring and when I'm performing.
Okay. That's awesome. Awesome. So when you're out there performing, you've been doing this for, what'd you say, 8 years now?
8 years.
And we're going to do it for another 30.
Oh, yeah.
Right now, what would you say, if you had to sum up Ethan Cross right now and what you do really well right now? Give me 2 or 3 things that you feel like that you've just absolutely have control over. You've got it down, and you do those things better than anybody.
In ring, out ring, being humble.
Okay, what in the ring specifically? I mean, we know the athleticism, What do you feel aside from that? Because he's got to be the most athletic person in that ring most every time you're in there.
Sure.
I mean,
I agree.
Somebody can argue that if they want, but I'll sit and argue with them all day long. But outside of that, in the ring, let's break it down. In the ring, what do you feel that you do better than anybody?
Connect with the fans.
Okay.
Connect with the fans. I love going to a promotion, first time ever, debut, that nobody know me, because it's a good challenge for me to make them know me, not just by rumbling off at the mouth with body gesture. And I don't want to give too much away. I kind of
don't give all the secrets away, but
I kind of believe in kayfabe too.
That's all right. That's okay. That's all right.
But learn to connect with the fans. That's what I'm good at, I believe. I believe I'm different from everybody else. I use less moves than anybody. I mostly want to connect with the fans. So
okay, all right. Let's flip side to that. Where do you feel that you can improve the most? That's going to help propel you through the next, let's say, 10 years. What do you think you need to improve on the most right now?
Oh man, everybody always needs improving. That's why I'm so humble, and I always, when people, whether they teach me, get me advice, I go on social media, I watch certain people, I go on their page and I read it. I don't comment all the time. And when I was on group today, on group chat, I told them, I said, I don't comment it all the time, but I do read it. It's because sometimes you learn when not saying anything. You just by reading. So I read a lot. I learned that way as well, because to go back, way back when I first started, oh man, if you had to saw me, God, you were like, why are you doing this? This isn't for you. But I had a goal that this is what I wanted to do. I didn't care if it took me 20, 30, 40 years. This is what I wanted to do. And I was going to do it. I was a slow learner. Now I catch on.
So if we take what you just talked about of being, what you do well of being able to connect with the fans, and then your passion to continue to learn, to improve your art. We've talked before about how we are firm believers that wrestling is an art form. What you guys do in the ring is you tell a story. And that's really what it's all about.
Yes.
We've lost that in different aspects of the business, whether it be from the indie scene or to your main rosters on your higher wrestling brands. That storytelling part, you don't always get the time to tell the best story.
Yeah.
So how do you take what you need to get better at and help that contribute to telling the story in the ring? How do you do that?
How do I do that? Whoever I work for in promotion, whoever they put me up against. Most people watch videos. I watch a little bit of what they do, even if it's their first time. I'm more about putting the next person over. Cause in my brain cell, it's like, okay, I know I can do it, but it takes two to tango. Just one person can't do it. So, storytelling I love. I'm getting better at it, but still need work on it. Sometimes promos, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Sometimes promos
right.
need it. But I always look at it like everything. I just don't try not to just single out one thing at a time. I'm always like, what can I do? If someone giving me advice or someone teaching me something, I was like, okay, I don't care what I do good. What I need to work on. That's what I want to do.
Okay.
So we're doing a lot of talking about how you feel about other wrestlers and Two to Tango and all these things and how you got into wrestling and all these things. So who's your inspiration?
Believe it or not, Eddie Guerrero. All the short
Wow.
guys.
I believe it.
Wow.
I saw.
short
Have you
guys.
seen that frog splash? I believe it.
Yeah.
All the short guys are my inspiration. Chavo, all the short guys.
So now, is that because of your own height, or is it because of their ability in the ring?
Basically both. Actually,
Okay.
Actually,
Okay.
both. One, yes, height. Oh God, yes. Oh God, because I'm about their height. They might be a couple of inches taller than I am, but I'm still a
It's
short
okay.
guy,
Tommy
you
likes
know?
all the bald guys. So
Yes, the also too the ability in the ring, because I sit there and watch them over and over, and still to this day, like they very crisp. They tell stories. They get the fans into it. It took them years to do that. I'm trying to sum it up in shorter years. You know?
this is true.
Yeah, I mean, and one of the things that we were lucky to be able to see with those guys was their progression.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody that followed those guys, if you talk about Eddie Guerrero, you can talk about Chavo Guerrero, you can talk about a lot of guys that were big WCW guys, but they were never what they became in the WWE.
Right.
The level that they were able to reach in the WWE elevated them to be able to become the stars that make you admire them. Yeah. And even now, with your in-ring ability, there's always things that you can identify with that you can say, well, man, I wish I could go back and I could do that a little better. So, we've been beat up a few times on how critical we've been of some people, but we acknowledge that it didn't contribute to the mission that we were after. So we decided to modify how we reviewed things. So with you, if you had to sit back and watch one of your own matches, what would you say is the climax of your match? So when you tell a story, what's the point in that match where you feel like Ethan Cross is at his best?
Oh man, when I beat up the tall guy.
It's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
That's one of it. When I tell a story, I like wrestling bigger guys, taller guys. To me, that's a better story because I'm so short. I like to take the leg out. Sometimes I don't want to say too much about
Yeah, that's
We
fine.
don't want to give it away.
We understand.
But arms, I want to do something that a lot of younger guys don't do right now. Is to one, tell a story. Two, work a body part.
Yeah, you don't see much of that anymore.
You want to be more technical.
Yes.
Okay.
That's what I'm aiming for.
Okay.
Honestly, that's what I'm aiming for. And to answer like some of the stuff you had said earlier, in between that, man, I watch my own match all the time.
Okay.
I'm very critical of myself. This past show, I was mad at myself. Why? Because the rope slipped when I was doing the springboard.
Mm-hmm.
Not once, but twice. Luckily, he caught me, which I was so proud of, and he heard me when I said catch me. But, I don't want to say too much. But I watch my match all the time when I can, and when they are on YouTube or when I get a chance to watch it. And I'm very hard on myself. I'm very beating myself up.
Mm-hmm.
Some people tell me, don't beat yourself up too much. I have to, because I want to be better than what I am now and want to be the standout guy.
Do you being that critical of yourself, being just sometimes just mad, at some of the things you see in you, do you ever feel like just that you could be your own worst enemy there and take things too far that direction?
I can, but I only do it to myself. I sit back and watch other people, like how they give out criticism. I love criticism. I always say, I don't care how you tell me, as long as it's the truth, I don't care. If you curse every 5 seconds, is that your way of telling me the truth? I don't care, because I don't get mad at that. I'm trying to get better in what I'm doing. So, me personally, I don't get mad.
I love it.
I can't speak for other people, but me personally, I would never get mad because I want someone to be truthful to me. If I'm truthful to them, I want someone to be truthful to me. And it's been plenty of times that people say, hey, you have a small window. You got other options. TNA, Ring of Honor. Yes, if my career lead me that way, then yes, I'll go that way. But my goal is WWE.
Well, I think that's the apex goal for anybody that's in the business, truthfully. Even with the recent emergence of AEW, myself and Smokey Z were having this conversation before we started taping tonight, and that is that WWE may not be a fan of AEW, but AEW is a product of WWE, mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is Cody Rhodes. If it wasn't for WWE, nobody would know who Cody Rhodes is. And there's going to be people that will disagree with me on that, but I would even go back a touch further and say that if it wasn't for WWE, nobody would know who Dusty Rhodes is. True. So without his time in WWE, Dusty Rhodes would have never worked for WCW. Mm-hmm. So, the hard times promo wouldn't have happened. And so there's a lot of gratitude that has to be given to those folks. Now, that does not take away from anybody's ability to add to that and build their own platform. And I think that's really what I'm hearing from you, is that that's what you want to do, is build your own platform that you can stand from, because you're going after that age barrier. You want to continue to learn. You're not going to settle for being just mediocre at what you do. Yeah. And I think there's a lot of people that do settle for mediocre. So I commend you for having that passion to try to drive forward and continue this mission that you're on. So one of the questions I do have for you, though, is, so this is not a cheap business. This is not a business that allows you to be able to just spend endless amounts of money if you don't have a way to replenish it. Anybody who's spent any time talking or knows any of you indie guys, there's a lot of things that you sacrifice to be able to do this. So I have a question, and almost more of a challenge for you. And that is that we watched a guy when we went down to VCW by the name of Phil Brown.
Yeah.
Who's a big guy.
He's a tank, boss.
I would love to see you, since you like to take down the big guys, I would love to see you in the ring against Phil Brown.
Awesome.
I think
Awesome.
I think that would be a match that it's what you seek,
Yes.
and both of you have in-ring talent. I think to carry the match.
And to carry on to that, I believe a couple of years ago, if I'm not mistaken, I kind of was talking to Phil on social media,
Okay.
and I wanted a match with him because of basically the same thing. So
Yeah.
it's funny that you say that. He's not the only one. Damian Wayne Costal. He's
Oh yeah.
another
Oh,
one.
yeah.
Sean Denny.
Uh-huh.
He's another one, and there's a few more other guys.
Yeah, we're actually going to have the ability to talk to Damian Wayne
Soon.
Yeah, when we go down to the VCW show on March 9th, we're going to be doing an interview with Damian Wayne down there.
Mm-hmm.
So, but he's a Virginia indie wrestling legend. There's no other way to describe it.
Yeah.
If I'm entirely honest, when I first went down there and saw him, I had no idea
Yeah.
who he was, but I went in, did my research, and found that the guy's been around for a long time, and he's good at what he does.
Yeah.
And he's good at every aspect of it. So, and I think he's up there in line with you around the age frame. So, I just saw a comment on him from social media the other day where he said he took a bump and landed on his knee. And he was like, falling 10 feet and landing straight on your knee at however old he was is not a fun thing. So, now, how do you recover?
A lot of absence sauce.
Do you feel it a lot the next day?
Yeah. But
More now than you did 6 years ago?
I'm gonna say about the same.
Okay.
Because I'm used to it now.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people take, medications or what have you. I take Tylenol. That's about it. But Epsom salt in a bath, work wonders for me. It hasn't failed me yet. So I might be sore the next morning, but I also got a shoot job to go to. So, hey.
Okay.
Got to do what you got to do, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can promise you that myself, Double K, and Smokey Z, we don't make enough money here to sustain our bills. So we've all got shoot jobs. We have to go back and work.
Yeah.
And so I can feel your pain on that. And one of the things that we've talked about before is sometimes we're doing these episodes and we're taping 2 or 3 episodes a night. And then one of us has got to turn around and be back at work at 7 o'clock the next morning. So, you'll leave tonight. We've got 2 other episodes to tape. And so when we say that we feel the pain of the long hours, we feel it. It's not the same as being thrown around in the ring.
Nobody's going through this table at the end of the night is what we're saying.
No,
Okay,
no.
all
Nobody's going through the table,
All
but it's
Think about it.
Maybe.
Maybe.
it's still, it's a long hours work for us. So between the shoot job and being an indie wrestler, what would you say is the deciding factor on when you make the decision to give it up?
Oh, man. I'm not trying to give it up.
Well, I'm not asking you to give it up.
we don't want you to give it up. Let's clear that up now.
Right.
Oh, man. Oh. I don't know. Like,
Purely a what if scenario.
Yeah, exactly.
what
So
if scenario. I had always said to the job, my shoot job that I work at, if you ever gave me an ultimatum whether I choose between a shoot job and my career, I'm choosing the career. It's just how I am.
Mm-hmm.
I can't speak for everybody else. Most have kids. I have one. She's 24. She grown. I don't want no more. So I'm following my career.
yeah,
So a lot of people, see themselves married. Understandable. I'm not taking that away from anyone. It's just how I am.
Mm-hmm.
I'm following my career.
okay.
Plain and simple.
Man, I love it. So, kind of leads me right to another question. We know you're following your career. We know where it is. We know when it started. And we know how long it's going to go. 30 more years, right?
Oh, yeah.
So, if you're giving advice, if you've got 18-year-old Bobby standing in front of you, just like you were standing in front of Mickey James, asking you How do I get into this business? What do I need to do? Who do I need to talk to? All the things that you asked Mickey. If 18-year-old Bobby comes to you and asks you that question, what advice do you give him? What do you tell him to do?
First, I'm asking him, is he serious?
Mm-hmm.
Because most people who try to get into it, after a few months, 3 to 6 months, they done. They take the first bump and they like, oh man, it's not as easy as I think it is. If you're serious, my advice to them is to stay with it. Follow whatever you're trying to do with your life, period. If this is what you actually want to do, I can give you advice to stay with it. There's going to be people that tell you no. There's going to be people going to say, hey, finish school first, which is nothing wrong with finishing school first, but you can do both. You can follow your career and finish school. You can do both. You can balance it out.
So I want to expand on that a little bit. So you mentioned being able to do both of being school and following your career being becoming a wrestler. How many matches are you having a week? And how many are you having a month? And how many different areas are you traveling to?
Okay. I love this question. In the beginning, I had a chance. I believe I was only a year and a half to 2 years in. And I had a chance to travel with a guy named Shorty Smalls. Me and him did matches after matches. So it was a lesson taught for me, and that was his way of teaching me the inside stuff too as well. Man, I used to travel a lot when I was earlier in my age. Now I pick and choose. And
Okay.
the reason why is that nothing against the guys and nothing against any promotion. I pick and choose is because I want to be the best that I can be. So I want to wrestle people who are way better than I am. I had a chance to go to Monster Factory. I had a chance to go to seminars up there. I had a chance to do a lot of stuff. I even did extra work backstage for WWE. I still shoot emails to them once every 6 weeks to be extra talent. Man, I always say this, like, I learned a lot. That's all I...
So, on an average,
Yeah.
how many times are you in the ring a month?
Now, maybe twice.
Okay. I was expecting you to say more than that, but
yeah,
right.
A lot of people is. I'm gonna say twice. Cause I pick and choose.
okay.
This past month I had two in a month. This month coming up, I got 2. Next month I got 3. The next following month I have 1. It's just I pick and choose. A lot of people always like go to towns, do this, do that, and I did in the beginning. Now I'm kind of cut back and just, hey, this is where I want to be. Hey, that is what, you know.
Yeah.
I'm in CPW. I love the locker room. I love all the guys that's there. I got a chance to wrestle the guys that I used to teach back at another previous school. I love it. I told them backstage, this ain't about me. It's about you. I like putting the next guy over.
How often do you still train?
Yes. I still train.
Or is it purely you're doing matches, you're doing shows?
No, I do both. I still train.
How many days a week are you training?
4.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
4.
So you're in the ring a lot more than twice a month.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
show-wise,
You're doing
twice
2 shows a month.
Sure.
Now, who else are you wrestling for on a regular basis outside of CPW?
Outside, I'm wrestling for UCW.
Okay, I saw some pictures from them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Back in the past, I did shows for Monster Factory. When we go to seminars, we earn to get on the show, which I love it.
Okay.
Oh man, I love it. It been SPW back in Dalton, Alabama. I did shows for them. Hopefully, I go back at the end of this year for them. Hopefully, went a lot. Hopefully next year I go to Indianapolis. Hopefully, I put a plug in, so hopefully they like what they see, and hopefully I go to Indianapolis and wrestle for an expo.
Oh, wow.
Oh wow.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, that should be exciting.
Oh yeah. Oh,
So, one of the things that that we've been able to do recently was we were at the show this past Saturday for CPW when you challenged Sledge Gibson for the CPW heavyweight title. I'm going to go ahead and say that I was disappointed that the match ended the way it did because I think you guys are able to perform a 20, 30 minute, to quote good old JR, slobber knocker.
And that's what it was.
Up until. Up until. We'll address that in a different episode.
We'll get there later.
So, but I want to know from you, across your 8 years of wrestling so far, what is the best match in your mind that you've had? Who was it with, and where was it at?
One, Strange Strickland, a.k.a. Killshot in Lucha Underground.
Okay.
I wrestled him 3 times. The third one, I was so proud because I finally got it.
Okay.
Second match, Kristen York from TNA, because I was able to, pursue someone else, like far as I earned the right to get in the ring with him to wrestle him,
right?
With somebody on a more experienced level than I was.
Sure.
Another one, at Monster Factory, Ricky Reyes. I love that match. I wish I had a copy of that match. So Danny Cage, if you hear me, if you listening to this, I want a copy of that match.
Let's get this man a copy of this
That's
match.
right. That's right.
That was, I love that match. It would make me think outside the box, make me even get into more storylines. Gordon Braswell, GXW.
Yeah, I've seen pictures from you guys from matches across years.
Yeah.
In the past couple of days, just reviewing things.
Yes. Oh, we had a match at CPW.
Yeah.
People didn't like that match. Man, it's a lot of believe it or not, and I don't know if I ever told him this, but Brandon Scott.
We saw him down at
Just
VCW
about a month ago at this point.
I was proud of the last match I had with him. He one of the guys who's very strict, very dedicated into wrestling, and I love that. Been times where I didn't listen. I was hard-headed, stubborn, and he yelled at me, but I didn't take it to heart. Some people in the locker room kind of thought it was not the right way to go at it, but I didn't care. That's my way of learning. So I didn't care how he said to me.
Right.
I didn't care. It's my way of learning.
Okay. So we're coming up in the final few minutes of our broadcast tonight, and one of the things that I want to ask is, we created these podcast episodes to be a medium for you guys to talk about yourself. We've been in this conversation now for about 35 minutes. What do you want people to take away from this show about Ethan Cross?
Oh, man, what I want people to take away is have the ability to follow what you believe in, no matter what anybody says. Someone tell you no, use that as fuel to keep going. Look at what you've done in the past. Forget about it. Move on. Forgive, but don't forget. But move on. Everybody eventually will forgive you. Eventually, everybody will be like, hey, I didn't think you did that. You used to do that. Like, people still don't believe to this day that I was incarcerated because of the way I carried myself.
Sure. I didn't have a clue until he told me, so.
Yeah. So, just follow whatever. It don't have to be about wrestling. It can be about everyday life. You dream to be an officer, follow it. Dream to be a nurse, a doctor, follow it. Go overseas, travel, follow it. Don't let no one take it away from you, because when they do and you let them take it away from you, at the end of the day, 30 years from now, you can have regrets. I don't want to regret. I want to say, hey, I did this. I didn't go as planned, but hey, I have no regrets. I have fun while I'm traveling.
I gotcha. So
That's awesome, man.
it is, and you know, I want to, as we bring this to a close, I want to tell you that we are very grateful for the transparency that you've provided tonight. There's a lot of people that probably would have came on this program and not been as forthcoming about your past. So I appreciate that from the bottom of my heart. I know that everybody does here.
Yeah, I mean, it's goes all around the room, man.
Yeah, including Smokey Z, a.k.a. Colby Carino, behind the scenes, that, you know, there's something to be said for someone who's willing to let that barrier down and have that conversation. And, you know, in closing, is there anything that you want the folks that are listening or watching to know about how they can contact you or how they can book Ethan Cross?
I mean, book me through EthanCross41 at gmail.com. That's how I take all my bookings.
Okay.
You can also look me up on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. You can look me up on there. Send me a holler. Even if it's just to talk. I conversate. I control my own Facebook.
Okay.
Some people don't. Some people got their other folks doing that.
Sure.
You know.
Sure.
Eventually, I hope I will, but until then, I control it. I'm going to answer right away because I'm always busy.
Sure.
So, but I will. Like, if it's just a question, like, I'm on, but like, I have people always come to me sometimes and say, hey, I'm inspiration because of my age and what
Sure.
I do. And they like, hey, I'm staying in it because of that. I like that. My time is to give back. And that's what I'm doing. Whether if I make it or not, I'm giving back.
And that's highly commendable on your part.
Absolutely.
As a fan, I thank you for that. There's not enough of you that have that same mentality and the same mentality of wanting to follow before you can lead. There's not enough of them out there that have that same mentality. So thank you as a fan. Thank you for having that mentality and trying to pass what you know on to others. That's crucial in this business being successful long term. None of the guys that are at that elite level would be where they are if somebody hadn't done that for them before.
That's the only way to grow.
Yeah, absolutely.
Only way to grow.
So, Ethan, I thank you for coming out and joining us tonight. It's been great to have you out on the show,
Yes, thank you
to
for
have this
having me.
conversation.
Thank you for having me.
Folks, that's gonna wrap up our evening here at Through the Curtain. As the same as it has been for the first several episodes, I'm Tommy T.
Double K.
And Smokey Z behind the scenes. Folks, we hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you the next time the bell tolls.